Well, welcome to the Detroit Metro Plug podcast where connections matter. I am Charles McKay, aka Charlie the Plug, bringing you interviews every week. Every Monday, we go live and we bring you interviews of Detroit difference makers in the area of entrepreneurship as well as community involvement, celebrating the positive contributions they're making in the Metro Detroit area, in our community. We're about positivity, inspiration, and information over here. So thank you for those who are joining us live on our YouTube channel, on Facebook, and LinkedIn. So thank you. Thank you. Happy Monday evening to everyone. This is episode 105. I'm excited about our guest today because we're going to talk about discovering your path to wholeness. She has a powerful personal story of some things that she dealt with. And I kind of like, kind of the theme is from trauma to triumph. And she's going to share her story and how she helped other people overcome their trauma and go on their path to wholeness. So this is a very important topic. So thank you for those who are watching us. Do me a favor. Please like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube and also share this video and with other friends and family, those who you think could benefit. That helps us by your support and following. That lets the algorithms know that we want positive content. We ain't just about mess. We want things that inform us, inspire us, and encourage us. So please like, follow, and subscribe. Smash that subscribe button. So thank you for those who are joining us. This is the last Monday in February. We're heading towards March, my birthday month, as well as kind of going towards spring. Did you know that March 10th, daylight savings time? We're going to be spring forward the clock. So we're going to get a little bit more light here in the metro area. So I'm excited about that. We've been getting teased with a little bit of mild February weather, but it's still wintertime. So you know how they do in Michigan. We're going to get a couple of snow storms. Maybe not, the snow may not stick, but we're going to get some snow. But we headed towards spring, so I'm excited about that. So again, thank you for those who are watching us, and I'm excited about our guest today. So this is episode 105. And we're going to get into our guest and our topic. So I'm going to do a formal introduction of our guest. I got a nice bio. I think everybody should know and about this person. So let me, I'm going to add her to the screen, and we're going to get into this introduction. All right. So our next guest for episode 105 she is a certified personal trainer. Put my glasses on so I can make sure I'm reading everything correctly. She's a certified personal trainer, women's fitness specialist, weight loss specialist, certified nutrition coach, who has taken her years of experience and dedicated herself to empowering women through holistic health coaching. Her journey began with a passion for movement, starting with dance at Rumus Robinson Middle School in Detroit on the east side. Shout out to the east side. From African dance to modern dance, tap, hip hop, contemporary, she cultivated her love for the performing arts, influencing her approach to fitness. With over 2 decades of experience teaching fitness classes, she transitions from traditional personal training to holistic health coaching, leveraging her nursing skills, personal training expertise, personal healing journey. While no longer practicing as a certified personal trainer, she utilized her knowledge to guide women in understanding their intricate connection between mind and body. After facing postpartum challenges following the birth of her twin daughters in 2016 and diagnosed with, I don't want to mispronounce that, so it's issues with thyroid in 2019. I'll let her talk a little about that. She gained a unique perspective on the struggles of weight loss. Her holistic coaching approach encompasses mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, sexual health, emphasizing the importance of self-awareness in shaping thoughts, words, and actions. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 105. None other than Coach Shay.
Hello, hello.
Yes.
Nice to be here. It's nice to be here. That's a long bio.
Yeah, I want to give, we're about celebrating people, giving them their flowers while they're here, and just sharing a positive narrative of what's going on here in the city of Detroit.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So, just for our guests, our audience, who this is their first time, some people may know you who you've invited to watch the show,
hmm
but for those who don't know you, and someone was to ask, they'll say, "Hey, who is Coach Shay?" What would you tell them?
Yeah, Coach Shay is somebody who, um, has been on a healing journey for the last 7 years of her life. Completely changed the course of my life after the birth of my daughter, experiencing postpartum depression. Realizing that I had to do more than just focus on my aesthetic, had to focus more on what was going on with me internally. And so I looked for help, started doing a lot of reading and research, got multiple different types of therapists, did multiple modalities of therapy. And when I came out on the other side of that, completely revamped my business to focus on holistic healthcare for women, because I've always had a passion for helping women to feel the best way they can about the way they present themselves to the world around them. And was doing that on the personal training side, and just kind of had an aha moment one day and realized that I needed to do more. So I am a woman who loves to help other women heal.
All right. You are a woman indeed who loves to help other women heal. Now, a little
Yeah.
bit about so you grew up in Detroit, and you said you felt you started a love for movement with dance. Tell us a little about that, your childhood.
Yeah, so I started dance because my brother was doing dance at Remus Robinson Middle School, and I was at Guyton Elementary School at the time, and he had a talent show or some type of performance at the
Mhm.
school, and we went to it. And the moment I saw him on stage and everybody else on stage, I was enamored with dance and movement, and I always kind of was naturally gifted. I remember watching the Remember the Time video with him one time, and he was like, he had watched the video like 12 or 13 times trying to get the movements. And I
Okay.
came and sat on the sofa and I watched it twice, and then I stood up and did the whole choreography, and he was upset with me and pushed me on the floor. So I have I've always kind of just been gifted in that area. So when I went to Remus Robinson Middle School, I danced under Miss Yolanda Morgan, who was my dance teacher.
Mhm.
And she just saw a gift in me that I didn't see in myself. So
Okay, that's awesome.
mhm.
Shout out to Ray Deshay. She's
Hey
coming in all the
Ray.
way from Texas. Thank you
That's
for
one of my best friends in
yeah.
Texas. I miss her.
Yeah, appreciate you watching tonight. So we want to give a shout out to you. And just as a reminder, if anybody has a question for our guest or like a comment, we are live. So I'll try to highlight your comment or question for our guest. All right. So you started, you was inspired by your brother, was dancing and things like that. You got involved in school with hip hop, jazz. Did you say tapping too? You can tap
Did
dance?
tap modern.
Okay.
Modern was my favorite. I love
Okay.
modern, so I'm an Alvin Ailey girl.
Oh, okay, okay,
Mhm.
okay. Now, I don't want to make any assumptions. Do you still do any of that now? Dancing now? Or? No. Okay, okay. I'm just saying.
No, no. I'm
Not
I'm
even a little
considering
little
I'm
ballrooming
considering
or
getting
something.
back into it though.
Oh, okay, okay, all right, all right, all right. So now, in your bio, I read about you being a nurse.
Mhm.
Was there something that inspired you to led you to go into the healthcare profession?
I have always wanted to be a nurse from the time I was a child. I've always wanted to do what I'm doing now. When people used to ask me what I wanted to be when I grew up, I always said I wanted to be a nurse, and I always wanted to help women feel better about themselves. That was my little 7-year-old language. And I've always wanted to be a nurse. Just the way my life kind of played out, I ended up going into, just corporate America, and that became very mundane for me after the birth of my daughters. And I got laid off from my job as a business analyst at a Fortune 500 company in Texas. And I just didn't want to go back to IT after that. My daughters being born was really the catalyst for a lot of the change in my life. I realized that I needed to be more of the example that I wanted them to see. And so I had always told the young ladies that I mentored that as long as you were breathing, you still had time. And I kind of wasn't living that for myself. So after the birth of my daughters, I went back to school and finished up my nursing.
Oh, that's awesome. Awesome. I want to recognize, I don't know if this is someone said one proud mama.
That's my mommy.
That's your mom. All right. Thank you for tuning in and watching this interview. We appreciate that. All right. All right. We got to give applause for your mom here. All right. So I kind of want to transition into our topic today.
Yeah.
I showed a clip and I was looking, in preparation for this interview. I've been following you on Instagram and Facebook, and you shared some personal things about your journey to wholeness. And you talked about, just dealing with childhood trauma and how you overcame that. So you might share a little about that with our audience. What's that journey been like for you?
Rough. Yeah. A lot of the childhood experiences that I have were things that I didn't want to talk about. I was afraid to talk about. I was not an introverted child. I was very much so extroverted. I used to knock on people's doors and ask them if they wanted to hear Whitney Houston's song. And before they could answer yes or no, I was busting in the song. I was on stage. I lived my life on stage. But a lot of the things that I experienced in my life, in my childhood, kind of suffocated me a little bit, made me very fearful. I didn't trust people a lot. So I kind of just stopped doing a lot of the things that I love to do because I had so many things that I didn't know that were unresolved that I needed to work through. Again, the birth of my daughters was kind of the catalyst for a lot of the change. It's something about looking at two little girls who look like you. And understanding that I needed to work on myself. It was like the light bulb went off. I didn't want to transition over to them a lot of the things that I had gone through in my life. And I knew I needed to work on myself. And so I started to see a therapist, and it was hard to talk about because I hadn't verbalized a lot of the things that I experienced out loud ever. So having to verbalize that to a new person that I didn't know, and you have trust issues and you don't like to be vulnerable, was very hard.
Yes.
It was extremely difficult, but very rewarding coming out on the other end of it.
Okay, that's awesome. A lot of people say that, as adults, when we're adulting, a lot of our behaviors or things can be linked to our childhood environment, things that may have happened to us, and particularly some trauma. Do you think that whatever happened to you that you shared on your platform as a child, did that affect how you were as an adult?
Absolutely. I think so. I think it affected. So, talking about this I just started talking about this in public last October. Only a handful of people who were close to me kind of knew some of the things, but I never really went into details about it. But I think it just it affected my ability to trust men.
Wow.
It affected my ability to choose wisely in relationships. I had a lot of fear, a lot of fear, was always on a swivel. You kind of, the joke is like, that's a Detroit thing. Like you just kind of live on a swivel when you live in Detroit, because you always kind of got to be on your guard, on your A game. But I think a lot of that was because the people who were close to me that I trusted and I regarded very highly violated me.
Yeah, I understand.
So, so I had a lot of fear of, interactions with men. I had a lot of self-esteem issues. So it definitely affected me in my adulthood.
Wow. Now, if you don't mind me exploring a little bit, because in your relationships with men,
Mhm.
we have, in the current, I don't want to say, uh, dating scene, there's, these different things going on. There's this tension, and a lot of the complications can be linked to, unresolved trauma.
Mhm.
How would you describe your interaction with men, with this unresolved trauma in your life?
Transactional.
Transactional, like,
Very transactional, very surface
uh,
level, not
okay,
really wanting to get into the deep layers of, connection.
wow,
Not really feeling safe enough to open up and be vulnerable. I was in a lot of relationships where men were very dismissive of me and my feelings and my emotions.
oh,
And once I experienced that, I completely shut off. I wouldn't even give you a second opportunity to really
right,
get to know me on a deeper level.
right,
So, once I felt like you didn't care about me, or you were very dismissive of me, or you made me feel
right.
invaluable or
Thank
unseen, then I kind
Mhm.
of just shut everything down. So I would be in the relationship, but not really be in the relationship.
Wow, wow, and it was like transactional, like what that person can do for you, or
Not
what?
really what they can do for me, but
Right,
just like there was no depth a
right,
lot of times to the relationship. It was like we hung out, we saw each other, we spent time together, but when it really came down to like, understanding who I was or understanding who they
right.
were, I would never get to that. It was I had a saying that I would give like 70% of myself and the other 30% I reserved.
Peop Wow, wow, wow,
Mhm. Because I
wow.
didn't trust people enough. Like I didn't trust
Right,
you further than I could see you.
right.
So, I never really, and even if you were in my presence, I was always concerned that maybe you would flip on me one day and you would be abusive to me.
Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that, even in my life growing up, uh, both my parents had challenges. God rest their soul, that they're deceased, but they had challenges with substance abuse. And the
Mhm.
environments I was in, I had to kind of grow up fast.
Yeah.
And then I had barriers of trust with people too, because I'm
Same.
waiting for the shoe to drop and kind of
Yep.
guard it. And
Very
I'm not
much
sure
so.
if that's because of the stuff we've gone through, if that's a Detroit thing, but I do kind of feel sometimes when I'm out and about, there's that everybody's on guard because we don't know if you
Mhm.
try, you're trying to run a play on me, or but it all could be linked to our childhood and trauma, and people that we were close to disappointing us or
Yeah.
violating us or hurting us.
Yeah, because I mean, your environment that you grew up in as a child, that is supposed to be your safe space. And when
Yeah.
you grow up in a stressful environment where you are always wondering when the next bad thing is going to happen, you
Yes.
kind of get programmed to be that way, right? So there's a
Mhm.
book called The Body Keeps the Score that we're actually reading in the book club that I do. And it talks about how after trauma, your neurological system is rewired differently.
Wow.
You neurologically go through the world differently post trauma. So when you experience certain things, it absolutely does affect the way that you interact in the environment around you. So, for me, I grew up in a household. My mom suffered from substance abuse. My dad was deported back to Jamaica when I was like 7 years old. So
Okay.
he was not around for the majority of my life, those parts of my life where I really needed my father to guide me and to
Right.
protect me. So with my mom being an addict and her not being in the house, there was a lot of movement in and out of the homes that I
Right.
lived in. I
Right.
was exposed to a lot of things that,
Yes, I understand.
five,
Yes.
6, and 7-year-old children should not be exposed.
Exactly. I know exactly. I know
You know,
exactly.
I've had instances where people literally kicked down the door to
Yes.
my
Yes.
house
Yes.
looking for my mother,
Yes.
and you get afraid because you never know when that
Right.
next time is and if you're going to make it out of that next
Yeah.
time.
Yes. Yes. Now, um, it appears you definitely and just you definitely don't look like what you've been through. You like
Well, thank you.
done some work, self work, self awareness, and I want you to share with our audience. 'Cause I'm pretty sure people have experienced different things as a child, maybe not the exact same thing, but some type of trauma and things that they feel like something is holding them back. What
Yeah,
was your path? What was the turning point? I know you mentioned your children,
it
but what
was.
got you on the path to that wholeness you're experiencing now or you're working on now?
It was absolutely my children.
Okay.
Absolutely my children. I had never experienced love like that.
Okay.
The love for my children was so transformational that I just knew that I had to make some changes. It was the first time in my life that I actually understood what real love was supposed to be and feel like.
Yeah.
Because real love makes you want to be the best version of yourself. Real love is not controlling, and it is not, abusive. It is not painful, right? It inspires you to greater levels and higher heights. And so when I had my daughters, literally, that was the aha moment. I was dealing with postpartum depression. I was really happy at one point, but then I was dealing with the postpartum depression and kind of didn't really understand that. I was dealing with the thyroid disorder, undiagnosed, Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is an autoimmune disorder where your body basically attacks your thyroid. And between the postpartum depression and Hashimoto's, which affects your hormones, which affects your mental health, right? Your mental health and wellness. And then you add to the fact that I had twins who were in the NICU and then needed a lot of help when they came out because they were preemie babies. So you add to the delirium of not getting sleep, because I was sleeping probably 1 to 2 hours a night the first 9 to 10 months of their life. Wow. Couple all those things together, I was in a crisis and I didn't realize it until April 26, 2017. I had spent the 2 weeks prior to that planning my suicide.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And when I say I was planning it, I actively planned my suicide. I wrote 5 suicide notes, and I wrote detailed instructions on how to take care of my daughters. I mean, from how to take care of them from the time they wake up to the time they go to bed, to what type of foods they eat, to how to prepare those foods, to their favorite music, their favorite TV shows. I mean, it was detailed. And I started posting these things all over the house.
Yeah.
And that morning I got up and I put my 9mm under the seat of my Durango. I drove to Target, and I spent almost $1,000 in Target buying all the things that I thought that the children would need as the next transition in their life, because they were coming up on their first birthday. They were 9.5 months old at the time. And so I spent all that time, one second. I spent all that time at the store buying all the things that I thought that they would need in order to help them transition. And I sat in the parking lot of Target for 2 hours after I left the store, just sobbing and weeping for 2 hours. And I came home that day to unload everything. And it was my nanny at the time. She was a pastor's wife, and she was with me every day. And I know she saw a change in me and my emotions, because I was starting to disconnect from my children. She would try to get me to hold them, and I wouldn't hold them when she was there. I would only take care of them when she was away. And I went into my room, and she had done something which she had never done before, which was she laid them in my bed for a nap. And she had never done that before. And I was literally on my way out of my room, and I saw the babies in the bed. I wasn't expecting them there. I sat down on the edge of the bed, and I just kind of looked at them and sniffed them and kissed them, and, as if that was going to be my last interaction with them. And my daughter, Harmony, woke up, and she grabbed onto me. She latched onto me. She was cooing and talking to me and all the things. And it was in that moment, it was like God's grace whispered to me in that moment that he wasn't done with me yet. It wasn't my time. And it snapped me out of it. And when I snapped out of that, I was on a mission to, number one, get better, but number two, help as many people as I possibly could.
Wow, I really appreciate you sharing that transparent story. Man, I can't imagine just kind of the mental trauma that you were going through. You got so down that you felt like, man, I'm better off not here with my children. And you were almost in like a zombie state.
I was.
And I'm so glad that God intervene and use your children as well as the nanny to snap you out of that trance. And I'm glad you're here and going through that. I know it's challenging, but I'm encouraged that you're using your story to help others. And I'm pretty sure someone's who's watching live now can relate to what you're going through, or who watched the replay. So I really appreciate you sharing that personal story.
Yeah, absolutely. I've never shared that. It's literally probably my therapist knows that.
Yeah.
But I've never shared that story. But I think it's important because when you
Yeah.
talk about wellness, you have to understand what wellness is, right? Or wholeness. When you talk about wholeness, you have to understand what wholeness is. A lot of times we think wholeness means perfection.
Yes.
It means we have to have it all together. We have to have it all figured out. And that's not the case at all. If you look at the definition of wholeness, it literally means to be complete and harmonious.
Mm-hmm.
And the definition of harmonious, it's one of the definitions, is to be without disagreement.
Yes.
So who am I in disagreement with, right? So it's important when you're talking about wholeness to understand that you are whole when you are in agreement with God about who he created you to be and what he created you to do.
Yes.
And what happens is a lot of times is our trauma, the things that we experience in our life, misidentifies us. And we start to act in ways that are in complete disagreement with who God created us to be and what he's called us to do. And so, it's not a coincidence that my daughter Harmony is the one who woke up and reminded me to get back in agreement with who God created me to be and what he created me to do. It wasn't a coincidence at all, because that's what wholeness is.
Yeah.
The moment that I decide to get back in agreement with God, what he called me to do, what he created me to do, who he called me to be, is the moment I start my journey of healness.
Wow. That is awesome.
That is the most important part, is understanding wholeness doesn't mean perfect. It just means being in agreement with God about who you are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that deserves some air horns right there. Now, if you don't mind, I wonder if you could take me back and you snapped out of it. Your daughter grabbed your attention. God intervened. You got back in harmony to who you are. Now, what was some of the practical steps? Did you immediately call someone to get therapy? Did you start reading books? What was some practical things you did as you moved to this path of wholeness?
So I was in the process of applying for nursing school. So I knew I was going to go back. So I was taking prerequisite classes and saw a post on the wall about mental health therapy. And I snatched the whole thing off the wall.
Right.
And I called the number and got linked up with a therapist that way and started the conversations, started having, dialogue, and wasn't really opening up a whole lot.
Right.
But I think she realized very quick, because I'm an analytical and I'm a science nerd, right? I like to learn about the mind, the body, how they're connected, how they work. And so when she realized that, she just kept giving me information, because I wouldn't talk, but I would read and I would research.
Now I'm curious, prior to this, what was your view on therapists? Because some people have a funny view about seeking therapy and there's a stigma. What was your view on that prior to that?
When you grow up not talking about the things that you go through, you don't realize the importance of talking. And so I was like, I had grown up in church and I went to church. I've had therapists at church. I went to church counseling, and which traumatized me even more.
Wow. That's a whole nother subject.
It is a sensitive subject, but it's the truth. It's my experience, and it's the truth of my experience. And so I was kind of turned off by the idea.
Okay.
But I was so desperate that I was like, let me just give it a chance, because I knew I couldn't navigate this space on my own. I knew there was things that I needed to get out and I needed to work on, and I didn't have the tools. Obviously, I just came out of wanting to exit out of this world and transition, right? I had just come out of thinking that death was the better option. And so I knew that I needed some help. But I wasn't comfortable completely talking. And I appreciated the fact that she recognized that, and she honored the space that I was in until I felt safe enough to talk to her. So she just kept pumping me with information, articles, newsletters, books. And so once I started reading more, it was like the connection was starting to get made. I started to realize I was reading The Body Keeps the Score. That was one of the books that I was reading. I was reading a book called Complex PTSD.
Okay.
She was sending me different articles on, disassociation after trauma and what happens after you experience this, if you experience certain types of trauma.
Mhm.
And it was like holding a mirror to myself.
Mm.
I couldn't deny it
Right.
any longer, that I needed to do something and I needed some help. And so once I realized that she understood how I needed to be helped, I became more comfortable talking.
Yes. That's amazing, man. The reason why I asked that because I too uh had to go through counseling, going through a divorce, individual
Yeah.
counseling. It was another period went through counseling, and that helped me. And I just want to encourage, particularly men. I guess it's for everybody, especially men. There's a stigma of oh man, we got to tough it out and man up, as they say. But
Yeah.
man, I want to encourage people. Anybody watching, if you're going through some tough times, you're dealing with things from your past, you're dealing with regret, uh, fear, anger, resentment, whatever it is. I want to encourage you to get some help. And the good thing is, and not, there's a lot of insurances that cover therapy sessions and different things. There's different avenues. You can even do it from your home. Like there's apps like Better Health. So I
Yeah.
just want to encourage people to get the help you need. I think, man, I think everybody needs to talk to somebody because we got a lot of stuff.
Absolutely.
People walking around dealing with child trauma and things and acting out on people, and it manifests in domestic things, and
Yeah.
people just angry, and that stuff need to be released. So thank you for sharing your
Absolutely.
story.
Yeah. And going back to like the book, The Body Keeps the Score, it literally talks about like when trauma is experienced by a certain age, the age of 7,
Yeah.
most of those people, when they were doing studies and stuff like that, like 81% of the people at, I think it's Cambridge University, when they were doing all of these studies on people with trauma, 81% of those people ended up with some type of mental health diagnosis and on antipsychotic medications.
Mm, mm.
So the
Wow.
link to childhood trauma and mental health disorder in later life, the
Mhm.
research is out there. The information is out there for people to see that it actually does affect the way that you navigate the world. It
Yeah.
does affect your mental health later on in
Mhm.
life,
Mhm.
especially if you don't deal with it. And as a nurse, I see it every day. I mean, my patient acuity is changed drastically from when I first started. People are coming in with more behavioral issues than I've ever seen. So,
Yeah.
this is healing is something that healing work is something that is a necessity. And it
Yeah.
is um, especially a necessity in the Black community because
Yeah.
we like to sweep things under the rug. We like to not talk about things. We like to, pretend as if things didn't happen and didn't exist, and what happened in this house stays in this house.
Right.
And you have a lot of the women that I talk to are dealing with those traumas where
Mhm.
someone violated them, somebody molested them,
Right.
and they tried to talk to their family members about it, and the family members swept it under the rug.
Right.
So
Yeah.
absolutely, we need to talk about things. We need to start pulling back the veil on a lot of the things that people have experienced that is affecting their mental health in their current state.
Yes. Yes. Wow. Wow. This is good stuff. So you start doing your self work. You
Mhm,
you um you connected with a therapist. Thank God. You start
mhm.
doing the books. She started getting you information, and you started your path. Now, at what point where you began, as you worked on yourself, to have the desire to help others, particularly women?
So, I was personal training still. I had a gym in my garage in Texas. I was still living in Texas at the time. And my clients would come in, and I noticed, when you become, I started personal training when I was like 17, 18 years old. When you're 17, 18 years old, you don't really know nothing about nothing, right? And even
Yeah,
in
I
your
know.
20s, right? You're you're
Yeah,
you're
still
you're
kind
very focused on the aesthetic, what your body looks like and all those things. And honestly, that's the time where you really have to focus on it the least because you have, age and metabolism working in your favor. It's when you
right.
get less young is when you really need to focus more energy
Exactly.
onto the aesthetics and taking care of yourself, right?
Mhm.
For multiple different reasons. But the conversations that you have with women when you become a woman, and then you become a mother, are
Mhm.
totally different conversations. And I noticed that now that I had children, women were talking to me about things more in detail. And the conversations were more about, you know, for instance, I had a client who she could never stay on her meal plan.
Mm.
And so as you kind of become a therapist without the license and the title, when you're dealing with women and you're talking to them about their bodies, because they are very apologetic about the way they look. And, the stories they tell themselves about their bodies are always very negative. And so when you start to deep dive and ask them questions about, okay, so what's the barrier to you being successful on your meal plan? Or what's the barrier to you being successful coming to the gym? They start to tell you things about themselves that you think are completely unrelated to them eating. Or you think it's completely unrelated to them showing up for the gym. And I kind of just had an aha moment, because everybody was talking to me about something that was going on with them internally. That was the barrier to them, sticking to a program, showing up to the gym on time, or even the way they talked about themselves. I would go to do measurements for my first consultation with a client, and I'm measuring them. And some of the women, I'm not a big woman. I'm 5'3", and so having to measure around circumference around a woman, and they're apologizing for their bodies, and I'm so sorry. Oh my God, my rolls, this and that, and I just started to realize, like, it's deeper than the skin. It's deeper than what I see externally. These women are really struggling internally, and they haven't made that connection. And so, I kind of sat down and looked at my business model and did some praying and soul searching. And, after dealing with my own health challenges from Hashimoto's, being a personal trainer and struggling with losing weight and struggling with your body going in the opposite direction of how you're treating it, because I was working out 4 to 5 days a week and eating clean and was still gaining weight. That was a different type of mental health challenge that I had never experienced before. And so all of these things coupled together made me realize that I needed to approach this in a different way, because women were talking to me about, not feeling their best, not feeling worthy of, their children's love, their husband's love, not feeling comfortable turning the lights on when they're being intimate with their partner. I mean, when you have people telling you these kind of things, you start to realize, like, it's not just about what's happening outside. This is something going on internal. And that was my moment where I was like, I gotta approach this differently. So I switched my entire business model. The first 3 weeks, we didn't even go to the gym. We didn't do any working out. I started having them I had them write their story first, that they told themselves about themselves. And most of the times they would come in and that was a very negative story. And then I would tell them what I saw. When I saw them, and it was completely opposite stories. And so once I really started to help them shift the way they talked about themselves, you could see the difference, the pep in their step come back. You could see the difference, because now they're, affirming themselves. I'm having them write affirmations and say affirmations in the morning. And we did this for the first 3 weeks. Never went to the gym. I never talked to them about food. I never talked to them about weight loss. I talked to them about them and how they feel about themselves. What's the dialogue you're having with yourself every single day? And when we started to change that, by week 4, the first time they hit the gym, it was a completely different mindset, and people were more successful in their programs. They were more successful with their meal plans. If they didn't work out one day, or they ate something they felt like they shouldn't eat, it was no guilt, it was no shame, and they were no longer beating themselves up. It was like I had a rule, and it was like, if you eat the donut, enjoy the donut. And they feel guilty about the donut. And it just, those kind of things were changing people's perspective on weight loss, and changing their perspective on healthy eating, and understanding you have to have balance, and that you're a human, and you're going to have a piece of cake from time to time, and you can't beat yourself over the cake. That literally started to, I started to see better results in my clients.
Wow.
And that was when I was like, this is the juice right here. Like, this is it. This is, because if you get people to shift the narrative of how they think about themselves, they will start to speak better things about themselves, and their actions are going to follow that.
Wow. That's
whatever you think about yourself, good or bad, you're going to say, and your actions are going to follow.
So you're saying not just that the physical manifestation of how we are is what we think about ourselves.
Absolutely.
Because if you mental perspective and have healthy mental state, then it'll start to manifest in our physical state as we're working on our physical as well.
Yes,
That's awesome.
absolutely.
That's a great approach. Wow, ladies and gentlemen, the path to wholeness. Uh, I want to give people a chance to, because they're hearing your story, they can definitely relate to some of the things and challenges that you've been through
Mhm.
in your whole process and how you help others. I want to go into how people can work directly with you and the services you provide, and talk a little bit about, you mentioned a little bit about this book club you got
Mhm.
going on. So I'm going to do a quick announcement, a little commercial announcement. We're going to come back. Uh, it's a real brief announcement, and we're going to talk about how people can work directly with you, share about your book club, and any upcoming things you got going on.
Perfect. Okay.
All right, just one. So we'll be right back. Hey everyone, this is Charles with Detroit Metro Plug Podcast. If you are finding value in today's video, I invite you to subscribe, like, and comment. We would love to hear your feedback. And don't forget to click on that notification bell so you can be notified when we have upcoming episodes of difference makers in the area of entrepreneurship and community involvement. If you're interested in being a part of our Facebook networking community, I invite you to click on the link to be a part of that community. This is a place where you can network with like minded people and a chance to share about your product or service. If you're interested in working with me directly on how you can share your story with video or with podcasting, you can email me direct at DetroitMetroPlug313 at gmail.com. Thanks again, and let's get back to this interview.
Black Leaders Detroit, they knew that during the pandemic, that Black businesses were going to be left out of any type of funding that the government gave, and they wanted to make sure that they were able to figure out how they could step up and help, because again, this is their community, and they want to make sure that their community is still here when this pandemic is over with. And the only way you can do that is by offering support to your community, and so they stepped up and they did that.
I've been telling everyone I know about Black Leaders Detroit. The things that they're doing is simply amazing. And they're taking care of business for the Black business owners.
It's $1 a week donation to keep this great thing moving. $1 a week keeps it popping. Black Leaders Detroit.
All right, we're back. Just want to encourage people to support Black Leaders Detroit. Go to blackleadersdetroit.org. Just $1 a week or $52 a year. If you believe in helping support local Black businesses, they provide no interest loans, grants to nonprofits doing great work. All right, so we're back with our guest. Amazing story with Coach Shay. Your path to wholeness. She shared a personal story. She dealt with things in her childhood that affected her as an adult. She shared her postpartum challenge, where she even thought about ending her own life, and how God intervened and she had a turnaround. And I'm very thankful for that turnaround, because her path, her journey, she's using that to help others. And so, just tell us a little bit what I know you're doing a book club. I don't know what you want to start with, but tell us some of the things you offer and services you offer to the community, particularly women.
Yeah, so we're doing a book club right now. The book club meets every Thursday night at 7 p.m. We're currently reading the book, The Body Keeps the Score. I believe that information is a pathway to healing. Once you start to understand what's going on with you emotionally, mentally, neurologically, when you start to understand that, it becomes easier for you to navigate the healing journey, because you become aware, and awareness opens the door for you to create change in your life. So my goal with this book club is to just create a community of women. I believe that community is your immunity. Just like your immune system, when you get sick, your immune system, verifies that disease, the virus, the bacteria, whatever it is, very quickly attacks it to help you get well as quickly as possible. And I believe this sisterhood is going to do that for other women. We're able to kind of locate you when you are not at your best, you know, and to kind of get on top of that as quickly as possible to help you get to a place where you don't end up like I was, you know, feeling isolated and alone, because isolation breeds despair. So the book club is about creating a community for women to come together to get information, to understand what's happening in their body emotionally based on the things that they've experienced, and, you know, give them, you know, tools to actually help to start their healing journey. What's beautiful about it is, you know, it's intimate, it's intimate right now because I just started it. We just did our 4th week, but I have experts in rape trauma that are on. I have licensed therapists that are on. I have body work specialists that are on. I have a culinary wellness expert that comes on, and she helps us to understand the importance of what we eat and how that plays a role in our mental health. So there's people that is on here, and I thank God that He's connected me with these brilliant women who are literally experts in their field to help us to understand how to navigate through our trauma. So that's the big thing that I'm doing right now. I think that is really needed because a lot of people don't have access financially to therapists. And so offering a book club that's free, all you got to do is purchase a book and you have access to these brilliant women who are experts. You know, I have a lady who is an expert in rape and intimacy trauma.
Now, how do people get connected to the book club? Is it do they email you? They get a link, or how does that work?
Yeah, so I post the information on Instagram and Facebook pretty much you know, daily, but they can also email me at Shay at shapewithshay.com or info at shapewithshay.com. They can connect with me on Facebook at Shaped with Shay or Instagram Shaped with Shay. It's all the same, no matter where you look for me. It's all the same.
And what would you say this book club is for?
This book club is for women, exclusively for women. And it doesn't matter your age, doesn't matter your race. None of that matters to me. Because, you know, I have clients who are of all different races and colors and cultures. And a lot of the conversations are the same across the board. So trauma is not, you know, it's not just for one culture. It's not just for one race. You know, it's not for one color. All people have experienced some type of trauma that they have not healed from, and they need help to navigate that journey. And, you know, this is an opportunity for us to come together and create a sisterhood, but also get help from real professional people, you know, that have, you know, doctorate degrees in these type of fields. So it's a great way to start that journey.
Now, do you meet once a month, once a week?
We meet once a week, every Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay. And is it on Instagram or a Zoom link? Or
we do Zoom. So, you know, I add them to my email list. So, you know, once they reach out, we'll send them the initial welcome email explaining what the group is about. And then I send out the Zoom link. And then we do recaps every week. They have homework every week. You know, this week we wrote our affirmations, or last week we wrote our affirmations to ourselves. This week was all about self-care and prioritizing yourself, taking time away to decompress. So, yeah.
Yeah. How has it been received?
Oh man, it's been a beautiful time. It is stretching me, you know, in a way that I haven't been stretched before, because I have to be more vocal about the things that I've gone through, which, you know, I never really thought would help somebody else, but I'm seeing that it is helping other people. Yeah. But, you know, last week, you know, I have an agenda because I facilitate, but last week one of our sisters came in and she needed us. And so the agenda went out the window, you know, so if you come into this space and you need attention and you need love and you need support, then what the agenda is for that day is going to go out the window so that we can support you and help you navigate through that space that you're currently in. So it's been really great. It's been received really well. I'm kind of in shock about how well it has gone. So
yes. And we'll have in the description for the replay the links, or at least the websites and the social media platforms. People, so definitely those that are watching on this path of healing. You got some things you want to deal with. You want to connect with like-minded people who will not judge you. Will not judge you, help you to get to the place where you need to be, definitely connect with Coach Shay and get involved in her book club. Now, I do have some slides about your some other stuff that you do.
Yeah.
Now, are you still doing the fitness training, or tell our audience what are you doing with
I
that?
won't say that I'm retired.
Okay.
I'm taking a recess.
Okay, so you're taking a recess.
I'm taking
Okay.
a recess from personal training right now. I'm busy with nursing, and I'm busy. I'm a mom of 7.5-year-old twins.
Okay. Gotcha.
And so my girls are, they keep me busy, and they are my focus. They take a lot of my time and my attention, and I dedicate myself to being a very intentional parent to them. So I
Okay.
can't do everything. So,
Right.
so right now I'm focused on more holistic health coaching that encompasses, the physical, the emotional, the mental, all of those things. Right.
Okay.
So
That's
maybe
good.
one day I'll go
All
back
right.
to personal training.
Okay, Okay, so you're taking a recess on that, more focusing on holistic
Yeah.
mental health coaching. Now, do you offer as a service like life one-on-one coaching, or how does that work?
Yeah. So right now I'm doing most things virtual because that's just works best for
Right.
a lot of people's lives. And so and then you have access to more clients because they are not in the same state as you. So I do one-on-one virtual coaching, and they can again connect with me through any of those platforms to discuss starting their journey.
Okay. And how many sessions do you, if someone wants to work with you one-on-one on life coaching, uh, is it typically like a 6 week or?
Typically, we start about 12 weeks. The first 3 weeks is just kind of, you're getting comfortable with each other. The first 3 weeks, you're building that trust. It's uncomfortable the first 3 weeks because you're literally trying to get people to go against what they've been programmed to do their entire lives. So the first 3 weeks is typically the hardest. People don't trust you. They haven't completely bought into what you're telling them. They typically are still very negative about speaking the way they speak about themselves. And so, 6 weeks is not enough time. By the time you get to the 6th week, you're trying to just get it into your groove
Right.
with them. So typically we start off at 12 weeks and then, we add on sessions as needed.
Okay. And what would your style of coaching, what would be a word or a phrase that describes the way you do what you do?
That's a good question. I would say, oh man, I would say transformational. I think the whole goal is to transform a person's life from the inside out.
Okay.
So, when I was doing personal training, the goal is to transform pretty much their physicality, right? You want to see body recomposition. That was the goal. But now, more so than anything, I believe if you transform a person's mindset and the way that they think about themselves, then everything else follows suit. So I think that's where I'm at this point in my life.
Now, if someone who's watching this and they're gonna reach out and say, I know you said you were on a recess, but can you work with me on the personal training? Are you gonna put them on a waiting list?
They're gonna have to come with the ducats. Honestly.
All right. Oh, there's some people got some ducats out here that they want to get. If people spending, I mean, I ain't trying to be funny. They're spending money on surgical work.
Yeah.
Whether it's a so-called tummy tuck or BBL,
Yeah.
maybe they like, hey, I want a natural, workout body, whatever you want to call it.
I'm a full-time nurse manager, so I work a 9 to 5 too.
Right,
So
right.
it has to be worth my time. You know what I mean? I have to. It has to. Again, my priority right now is my 7.5-year-old twins, and so I have to be able to be an intentional mother to them.
Yes.
And everything else kind of is getting plugged into place in a way that doesn't affect my ability to care for my children the way that I want to care for my children. So, it would definitely have to be worth my time in order to do that because I am very busy with my full-time nurse manager job and my twins and then, just the holistic coaching. So I'm not completely closed out to you. I do love personal training. But it has to make sense for both of our lives. I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question.
As we wrap up, any announcements or final words you want to share with our audience?
I think final words would be, everything that you've gone through in your life, the trauma that you've experienced, it definitely happened to you. There is no negating that, but how you proceed forward in your life is completely up to you from this point. You have the opportunity to heal. You're still here, which is evidence of the fact that your trauma didn't win. And so I just want people to know that they have the opportunity at this point to completely change the course of their life. And it just starts with a decision to start a healing journey so that you can become aware of, your triggers and how the trauma has affected you, so that you can move forward and become the best version of yourself. So that's my last words: is your trauma didn't win. You can absolutely triumph over everything that you've been through.
All right. Your trauma didn't win. I like that. Well,
I need you to get some Jamaican sound effects in here, okay?
I got air horns, ain't that?
Yeah, I'll take the air horns. Booyaka, I'll take those.
All right, Coach Shay. I really appreciate you taking your time to be on episode 105. Appreciate you being transparent, sharing your story. I know it's going to encourage and bless someone and inspire them to get on their path of dealing with issues and their path to wholeness. I appreciate you.
I thank you for having me. This has been an amazing opportunity for me to start talking about my story. So thank you for inviting me. I wish you mad success with your podcast. Absolutely my honor to be here today.
Yes, I appreciate you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, episode 105, Discover Your Path with Wholeness with Coach Shay. Make sure you guys check out her information. We had it on the screen. You can follow her on Facebook, Instagram, her website, emails there. So if you're dealing with some things and you want to be a part of this book club, you can join. I understand you can join the book club for free. If you want one-on-one coaching, you have to inquire about that. But she's here to service you. So I want to encourage all our listeners to check her out, and so you can be on your path of wholeness. All right. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Well, that concludes our podcast today. If you find value in what we're doing, we're trying to do positive content, empowering, helping people. Please follow us, like and subscribe, and share with your friends. And we'll see you next Monday. Have a great week and be blessed. Thanks again for supporting the Detroit Metro Plug podcast.